Hello everyone, welcome back to Dad's Gaming, ZHP 2004 here. Today we're going to talk about the combinations in Forza Motorsport 7. Namely, car track combinations that will come up in, the cycled hoppers. The good ones, the not so good ones, the head scratchers, and the ones that I just hope never return in the next version of Forza. Now, as a note, these are my own opinions. You are free to agree or disagree. But going forward, again, like I said, I hope that some of these just do not rear their ugly heads in Forza Motorsport 8. So without further ado, let's get into it on the first one. Okay, we're going to kick things off with something that definitely needs to stay in the game, and that would be the early prototype racers here at Le Mans Bugatti, or just about any circuit in the game, honestly. Even places like Dubai full with the mountain circuit. As tight as, of course, that is, the racing can actually be pretty good. It is fast category here, but all in all, this is something that I hope Forza can maybe even expand on in the next version. I mean, we have some really amazing cars in here. You know, the Porsche 962 right there. We got the Mercedes C9 Sauber, the Jaguar XJ9, and the Mazda 787B, just to name a few. But yeah, this is one I really look forward to in the next version of Forza, and a division combination that I hope doesn't kind of get taken out of the rotation in the hoppers. I mean, personally for me, these cars are just fun and quintessential racing at some of its best. Alright, next up we have Forza Trophy Trucks. Yeah, this just is not a good idea anywhere. You can see these cars. I don't know what Forza was thinking other than, hey, let's up the car count in the game. Well, they certainly did that with these and the modern off-roaders, modern SUVs, and the buggies. Now, I will say the buggies aren't all that bad. But these things, they're big, lumbering behemoths in an open lobby. You're just kind of asking for carnage and chaos. Now, they might be fun if you have, a private lobby with your friends and you just kind of want to goof off and have a fun racing series. But in a public lobby, yeah, I would normally steer clear of something with these. I even went as far as painting my F-150 construction orange with a caution sign on the back, just to try to give myself a better shot at surviving any given race. But yeah, if these disappeared out of the game in the next version, I really don't think that they're going to be missed by any stretch of the imagination by pretty much anyone. There was a lot of griping and complaining when these even came into the game as to people asking why. There were hopes that, well, maybe we would get some trophy truck tracks, maybe like an add-on, a DLC or something, which never came about. I don't know if that was ever a plan, but if that's not a plan in the next version of Forza, please just leave these things back in the virtual garage. Alright, so third on the list is Open Wheel Legends. Sounds great. Except in a cycle hopper. Now, if you had a dedicated hopper to this, where, you get, a few races under your belt with these cars and manage them, that's great. But when you're bouncing from one division to another and then this comes up, especially at Bathurst, for me, and again, these are my own opinions, this is just not a good idea. You can guarantee pretty much just absolute carnage there. Turn 1, turn 2, And even getting up into the mountain, getting over the mountain, getting down the back straight, getting through the last corner, it happens everywhere. And, you know, these cars slide around, there's no downforce. And in a cycled hopper, like I said, I don't think I'd really want these around a whole lot. In a dedicated division hopper, great, let's, you know, have at it. You get a few races under your belt, like I said, it would be fun. But here you can see, this car and I and this track, the three of us just don't get along. And I've never made it through the mountain clean with this car. And that could just be me. But if this, you know, was omitted from, you know, a cycled hopper again, I necessarily wouldn't miss it. But let me know what you guys think about that. I do like these cars. I'm just not a fan of this car track combination. Alright, and on to Prototype Group Racing at Rio. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either, you know, but Rio is Rio. And these cars, or maybe it's just my car, they do not get along here. You know, you got the curbs and the bumps, and it really throws these cars around with, you know, such high power. Maybe in a different class this would be okay, but I've, you know, run this into the wall. But I run this in, you know, this class. I've run it in NASCAR. I've run it in V8 supercars. Run it in, I think, the vintage sport coupes. And that's not too bad. But again, you know, the higher class stuff, it's actually probably, you know, dirtier than Dubai. You're almost guaranteed to have somebody impatient just kind of trying to drive through you. So this is another one that doesn't really, you know, tick my boxes fun. It's just one you kind of have to endure and just get through it, or if you really, really don't want to run it, just, you know, sit there and spectate it and hope for a better combination coming up next. And since we're on the subject of, you know, fictitious tracks, let's just talk about Prague for a couple minutes, and you guys might know where I'm going with this. And this applies to just about any division, whether it's a stock vehicle, modified, or class-based. And that's the track limits in the, whether you want to call it the first chicane, last chicane, or the only chicane in the game. With the curbs and trying to get a clean lap. If you're going for a clean lap, it's fairly unlikely that you're going to win, because most of the time, in a public hopper anyway, like this, you can pretty much put money on everybody just blowing that sector. So either they need to put a barrier there or redo the track limits in the next version, because it's just, you know, absolute carnage. You got some people trying to take it clean, some people cutting through there, and I haven't been in a race there that hasn't been a very touchy subject. It might be one of the touchiest subjects in the game as far as, you know, track limits and is it okay to cut, not cut, where to cut. It's one of the, yeah, dirtiest, I guess, parts of any track, other than, we'll say, turn 1 at Nürburgring or turn 2 at Hockenheim. That's another favorite one of mine. Or the first chicane at Monza. And those are just ones that come to mind that, you know, people just, you know, either ignore, they don't look at the map, Haven't figured out braking points yet. But yeah, the chicane here, it's just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And even if you're trying to push through there and you cut it a little bit and that just blows your lap, and especially in the other direction, then it just dirties it for your next lap. And then, you know, it just, it's a little bit of a downer for me anyway. But let me know what you guys think on that one. And last but not least, we have to talk about Forza GT. This is the division that I think most everybody at some point has gotten into the endurance racing. It's had a hopper all to its own for about as long as I can remember, maybe since the launch of Forza Motorsport 7. This is a division I'd love to see some more cars in, and not just different variations of the same car. I think we have, 3 of the Lamborghinis, 2 or 3 of the Ferraris, and I think we have 2 Porsches, although they are different. You know, we have the GT4 and the RSR, so, you know, I'll give them that is different. We have the 2 different Corvettes, we have the Ford GT, we have the Jaguar. So, I mean, it's fairly, you know, spread out. A couple different years. I would love to see more of these types of cars coming in, because they're grippy and they have brakes. So, yeah, there's probably some pushing and shoving with the cars, and or people, you know, just totally missing the hairpin back there. But for the most part, you can actually get some closer racing in these cars in the shorter hoppers. When you do the endurance stuff, you know, it gets spread out, and you may battle with somebody, and there's pit strategy involved there. I have a video on, you know, endurance pit strategy. If you go back and look, we have that from earlier on in the series. But yeah, I think for myself, this is the quintessential division of Forza. Not saying that the game is judged on this division, but the level of competition you can have in a lobby, the diversity of the cars is, you know, it's pretty good. Like, it could be better. We could, you know, maybe get, you know, a few more GT cars. I know we got, well, BMW, we have, 5, 6 of them. Everything from an M3 to the Z4s to the M6 to the now M8. But, you know, maybe a couple others. We also have the Audi in there too. But I'd like to see a couple other different cars. Whatever's out there. Maybe from, you know, previous generations, like this Corvette. Maybe 1 or 2 things from, you know, when this ran in the early 2000s. But guys, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. It was more of, I don't want to say griping and complaining, but just my thoughts and some of my hopes going forward for the next edition of Forza. And hearing some of the things that are coming out of the rumor mills and things that have been talked about as far as, you know, tire pressures, tire drop off and stuff, I'm really looking forward to. I'm not ready to commit a video to any of that yet, but going forward in the upcoming months, as we get closer to the release of the Xbox One Series X and the soon to have announcement, I hope, of the next Motorsport series, we'll get something together and we'll talk a little bit about that. And until then, guys, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.